Today, the influence of Buddhism is growing around the world. The Buddhist practice of mindfulness, especially, can be found everywhere. The routes that bring people to Buddhist and Buddhist-inspired practices are highly varied. Some are prescribed mindfulness in medical or therapeutic contexts. Some learn about mindfulness by reading books, attending courses, or meditation groups. Some join Buddhist convert communities. Others embrace a scientific, secularized Buddhism. And still others cultivate New Age spiritualities that incorporate Buddhist concepts. And, as Jeff Wilson points out, mindfulness is not only sold as an answer to the big questions, but as a cure-all technique for every aspect of our lives. We now have advocates for and practitioners of mindful eating, mindful sex, mindful parenting, mindfulness at work, mindful sports, mindful divorce lawyers, mindfulness-based stress reduction, mindfulness-based addiction recovery, and on and on. Religions grow when they provide answers for difficult social problems, when they can soothe pressing widespread anxieties. So why does this religion, its teachings and meditation practices speak so poignantly to so many now? How could a person who lived 2,500 years ago invent a philosophical system and spiritual pathway so perfectly suited for modern lifestyles, for modern psychology, modern individualized spirituality, It's worth asking whether the Buddhism and mindfulness practices that have become so popular in the last decades actually have much to do with Buddhism, as it was originally conceived and developed throughout Asia over the last 2,500 years. Until modern times, and still in most Buddhist communities throughout the world today, only monks have practiced meditation and studied the Dharma, the teachings of Buddhist philosophy. And even among monks, only a minority have. Traditionally, lay Buddhists practice their religion mainly by cultivating good deeds and thoughts, and by sustaining the monasteries through charity. These activities create karmic merit for themselves and their families, increasing their chances of favorable rebirths. However, things began to change in the 19th century, when Buddhist institutions came under attack from colonial European powers, Christian missionaries, and modernizing governments in China and Japan that saw them as archaic. Across Asia, Buddhist reformers responded by bringing meditation and the Dharma closer to the people. In Burma, they invented a modern form of vipassana, insight meditation, that can be practiced part-time. Visionary leader Ledi Sayadaw traveled the country, preaching Buddhist philosophy and organizing laypeople groups for study and self-improvement. These vipassana revival techniques are the blueprint still found in meditation manuals and courses across the world today. Reformers like Japanese monk Shaku Soen appealed to modern sensibilities by presenting Buddhism as the spirituality of reason. The wall that divides is destroyed, and there's nothing which prevents us from loving our enemies. This is the reason why Buddhism is called the religion of enlightenment. They found sympathetic Westerners who thought Christian doctrine unscientific, leaving a spiritual void. Two such allies were Henry Still Olcott and Madame Helene Petrovna Blavatsky, founders of the influential Theosophical Society in New York. They had little time for traditional Buddhist superstitions and rites, seeking a rationalist Buddha in ancient texts. Olcott writes that Buddhism teaches the highest goodness without a creating God, a continuity of life without adhering to the superstitious and selfish doctrine of an eternal, metaphysical soul substance that goes out of the body, and without rites, prayers, penances. However, there were parts of Buddhism that didn't fit with this idea of a rational religion. Rather than unearthing the original Buddha, these reformers invented a new, modern one, no longer embedded in a universe of reincarnation, multiple heavens and hells, demons and gods. In the 1950s, modern Buddhism found a pop icon in D.T. Suzuki, Japanese lay scholar and student of Shakusoin. He became a celebrity in North America and introduced Zen Buddhism to mainstream U.S. society. He appeared in fashion magazines like Vogue and popular weeklies like Time. Suzuki was glamorous, exotic, and enigmatic. He helped spawn the now widespread image of Zen as an idiosyncratic, outside-the-box way of thinking. The counterculture beats, like Allen Ginsberg, Jack Kerouac, and Gary Snyder, further explored this aspect of Zen Buddhism, connecting it to the spontaneity and free-form expression that they cultivated as a rebellion against the norms of mainstream American society. This idea ran through the counterculture revolutions of the 1960s and 70s. In that era, many Americans like Joseph Goldstein, Jack Kornfield, and Sharon Salzberg studied with Asian Vipassana masters. They then brought their techniques and philosophy back to the US. Together with Asian teachers like the flamboyant Tibetan exile Lama Chogyam Trungpa, they founded influential meditation centers, wrote popular books, and spurred a meditation movement. Over the past decades, Buddhism, Zen, and mindfulness have become buzzwords with many meanings. They can refer to institutionalized religion or free-form spiritual practices. They have been associated with counterculture rebellion, therapeutic and self-help movements, and innovative business management structures. Mindfulness fits easily into individualized consumer lifestyles. It does not demand faith or commitment. We can choose the bits and pieces we like and discard the rest. Since mindfulness teaches us to search inside ourselves and modify our emotional responses, many suggest that it plays into survival of the fittest capitalism, blaming individuals for their suffering rather than external social causes. So, we can say that Buddhism appeals to the modern world because the modern world has made Buddhism over in its own image. The question is, can Buddhism also make the modern world over in its own image? Modern Buddhism is at its best when it's not a pacifier to merely calm our minds, but a tool to challenge the status quo and transform our consciousness of the world. The Buddha made two extraordinary claims. Firstly, that it is possible to be released from all the sufferings of the self. That we can achieve such a serene perspective on the endless interplay of emotions and sensations that make up human relations that we are no longer immersed in it. Secondly, that the self in fact does not exist, that our sense of self is a delusion impeding enlightenment, making us prisoner of that self's desires, jealousies, and hatreds. These bold claims present a seemingly insurmountable challenge. How can we live in the world and interact with others without a sense of self? According to tradition, words alone could not convey the answer to that question. We must go beyond a conceptual understanding and seek a direct experience of non-self through meditation. For the influential Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh, this process leads to a consciousness he called interbeing. If you are a poet, you will see clearly that there is a cloud floating in this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there will be no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow, and without trees, we cannot make paper. Without the cloud, I cannot be here. I am the cloud, the river, and the air at this very moment. And I was a rock. I was the minerals in the water. This is not a question of belief in reincarnation. This is the history of life on Earth. We have been gas, sunshine, water, fungi, and plants. We have been single-celled beings. Nhat Hanh transforms the traditional cosmology of reincarnation into the modern framework of evolution, suggesting that mindfulness can cultivate a true consciousness of what science teaches us, of our inherent interconnectivity and interdependence. The new modern religion of Buddhist mindfulness, like all religions, speaks to our gravest social problems and anxieties. It can be part of these problems or part of the solution to them. An invitation to meditate, to explore experience, to watch the mind's thoughts and learn from the unending flow of all living and non-living things.